Hello, and thanks so much for tuning in to the Only Jesus podcast, where we will be talking about life behind the scenes in ministry, true stories of God's faithfulness, practical ministry tips, and so much more. We can't wait to explore these topics with you and celebrate the things only Jesus can do. With your host, Tim Mullins.
Hey, welcome back to the Only Jesus podcast. I am Tim Mullins, and we are sitting here with Celeste Ely. Ely.
Yep.
I actually said your name wrong for like the first year I knew you.
I don't correct people because that would be a full-time job.
I don't think I ever said it to you guys.
That's good.
But I did say it like in my mind. I thought it was Eli.
You said Eli. Yeah,
Yes.
That's what everyone says. Yeah.
But my beautiful wife set me straight.
There
so
you
that's
go.
Good. So you are a wife.
I'm a wife.
You're a youth pastor.
Yep.
What else do you do at the church?
I do young adults as
Okay.
well. I oversee our young adult ministry, which I love.
That's fun.
So, yeah.
And that's not a big jump from youth to
Right.
It's that transition period.
Yeah. I've actually been a youth pastor at the church long enough to see a sixth grader come from sixth grade all the way to the young adult ministry.
Nice.
Which is so crazy. You know, they walk in and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like tests that I need to be getting done. You know, like I'm getting to that age. Like, do I need to be on a blood pressure pill? You know, like they come in and that's
okay.
I see them. I'm
That's
like,
not funny to say to somebody that is old. You're not there yet. How old are you?
I'll be 28 next month.
Yeah, I just crossed
No.
40, so
I'm not
42.
old.
Yes,
I started ministry young, very, very young.
and there's pros to that. Like you get to, like you said, see these kids grow up,
Yep.
and you're still young enough to identify with them.
Yep.
And you're a wife. Your
Yes.
husband Brent, he has got the prettiest beard I've ever seen in my life.
is gorgeous.
I mean, yes, it is.
It's gorgeous.
I have envy. I have beard envy.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
First time I met him, I'm like, dude, seriously? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go shave mine now because I don't compare.
We were on the phone with someone the other day, and he was there. He was talking to Brent, and he goes, "Well, all right, Brent, tell your beard I said hi." I was like, "Wow, he doesn't need any more hyping up with the beard." But no, yeah, it's awesome.
No,
and I actually won't let him shave it.
That's
Like
good.
he's
My wife
talked
won't let me
about
shave
shaving
mine.
it. I'm like, absolutely
No.
not. I told him, in fact, I said, if you shave your beard, I will shave my head. So it's kind of, it's
Right.
kept it
and
around.
He probably don't want that. So.
No, and he knows I'll commit,
like you're gonna follow through.
like you're going to wake up one day and you are going to be terrified. So, yeah.
That's funny. The Britney Spears.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, you're not a husband. My wife, youth pastor, young adults pastor. You do all this stuff, and you're also the host of To Be Honest podcast.
Yes.
Which we were just talking about. The girl had like 5 episodes out, and you hit 2,500 views or listens or downloads, however you want to say it. That is so impressive.
Well, thank you.
When you started this, like, what was your goal?
My goal was just to make an impact. That was my goal, was to make an impact and to be helpful. And so, like I was telling you earlier, I literally thought, like, this might not be great. Like you put content out there
Right.
and you're kind of just like, you
people
brace
like
for
it.
impact. You're like, this is going to be great or it's going to suck and the world is going to hate me, And so, yeah, it's been very interesting. And I feel like I've been very vulnerable on this podcast. So I feel like I've let
agree.
so many people in to my life. So yeah, when I release,
You're not just talking about, just general stuff. You're like really hitting some hard topics.
yeah,
Things that people don't like to talk about.
Sure.
But they need to.
sure,
And so if you're listening to this, the 3 people that listen,
yeah,
no, I'm just kidding. We have a nice little base. Check it out, To Be Honest, and it's incredible. You'll definitely get something from it, and it'll definitely help you.
thank you.
What is your goal target? Like, when you're speaking to people, like, who are you aiming at?
Yeah, it has. I think for each episode there is a different type of audience. So for me personally, I love listening to podcasts, but when there's a title that really grabs my attention, that's the one I gravitate towards. And so I think there's a different audience for each episode. I don't, every single episode is not for every single person.
Right.
So Brent and I released this episode called, To Be Honest, the fertility journey hasn't been easy. And I think it had like 300 downloads. It was like the least.
Least?
The least. Oh, I did
The
graduate.
lesser.
I went to school. Yeah. The lesser amount of listens out of any episode. And that was not surprising to me at all.
Right.
You know, like that's not for everybody. You know, you're not going to have, you know, you're probably not going to be interested in, let me learn
I did
about
listen to it just to, like
curiosity.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not something.
Yeah. So I think my target audience changes. There's episodes where I want to partner with parents, you know, who have young teenagers. There's episodes where I want to help people who've been through trauma. So I think it's just episode by episode.
Yeah.
My target audience changes.
Just whatever's needed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's really good. Mine is just to anybody that'll listen.
Yeah.
Like, as long as they'll stay on and listen, I'm here for you.
Yes.
You are my base.
That too. Yes, absolutely.
But it's exciting and fun to do podcasts and to get the content out there.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest joy is like yours is a lot of times. Sometimes it's just you.
Yeah.
Sometimes like once your sister, a couple
Yeah.
it's been your husband and stuff. Mine, I like to interview people. I like to sit down
Yeah.
and have the conversation. For
It's
me,
so
that's
fun.
It is. That's
Yeah.
the best part. I like this and I like the natural feel of it. And
Yeah.
it's
so not too
it's really not
serious.
for anybody out there. I just enjoy doing it, and I enjoy
Forget
having
everyone.
fun.
If you're listening right now, this is not for you.
Yeah.
This is for us.
Just click it off.
Yeah.
No, really, don't do that.
Keep listening, please.
But no, it's been really good. Like I've got the interview
Yeah.
my old pastor that I used to work for. I've got the interview people I didn't know, like from Florida and stuff like that. And it's just exciting
Yeah.
and fun. And I try to have something serious in it,
Yeah.
but for me, that's a struggle. My life,
Me too.
my life is just fun. And
Yeah. Well, that's what I love.
laugh.
And that's what I love about your podcast is you can switch gears. You know, if there's one thing that I don't generally gravitate to, it's something that is serious 100% of the
Right.
time. And so I think you can talk about what are we laughing at? You can talk about things that are difficult and challenging while also bringing that lighthearted
Yeah.
spirit, like not taking yourself too seriously, being able to
Nobody else takes me
crack a
serious,
joke.
so
No.
I can't.
Yeah, no one has respect for me, so it works out.
So before we get into the topic today, I always like to start it off with something lighthearted and fun. With you being a youth pastor, you got a story, something fun, something funny, a
Yeah.
situation that happened. I don't know if I warned you about this or not.
No, I think we should let the people know how absolutely candid this is.
Yes.
I have been given nothing, and I'm just here for it right
Yes,
now.
we are. I told her I'd send her some questions, and I didn't.
It didn't happen.
But to be honest, I've only done that once.
Yeah.
I mean, and stuff. So
I'm all about it.
Hey, it works. Well, we can go back and shoot it again if
Start over.
this is a practice run.
Yeah.
But no, a story, something's happened in youth, or a situation that you can tell us about that's not going to get anybody in trouble.
I know. That's the
And-
thing. Like,
yes.
that's what's running through my mind right now is how do I not exploit every
No names.
teenager? No names. Well, I guess, so this is like absolutely terrible.
I love it when it starts out that way.
It's horrible. But I made a huge mistake in a very, very tragic way. I had a student who had someone close to her pass away. And I know you're thinking, how is this lighthearted? So I had a student who had someone close to them pass away, and she and this other girl have the same name in my youth group.
Okay.
And so I get a phone call, and the name pops on my phone of the girl who had just lost someone close to her. And I said, hey, how are you doing? I know this is very difficult. And she was like, well, I'm okay. She said, I'm just like really needing some help. And I was like, well, of course,
Yeah.
I totally understand that, grief is difficult. And I said, how are you feeling since the funeral? She said, what funeral? And I thought, oh no, she's like on drugs, like she is she's either drunk or on drugs, or she's going
She's just
through.
broken.
She's just broken, and she has like blocked the trauma out to try to move forward. And I said, well, the funeral that just happened. And she goes, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And I said, where are you? She said, well, I'm with a friend. I literally thought she was high or something. You know, I was like, this is
How
not,
long did this go
is
on?
not good. So I'm in Kroger. Okay. So I'm like freaking in the frozen food section trying to like pastor this girl. So I hang up the phone. Okay. And I call the girls.
So you got off the phone.
I got off the phone.
Still believing
that this girl that called me, same name, right?
That is hilarious.
Okay, so I called the mom of this girl, the correct girl, okay, who had just lost someone very dear to her. And I said, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, you know, I said, I just got off the phone with your daughter. And I said, I don't know if she's safe. I don't know if, you know, everything is okay, but she has no recollection of the funeral. And the mom goes, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. You know, like, what can I do? I just, you know, I feel so terrible. And she's like, she was driving. She had pulled over. She's sobbing.
Yeah,
okay.
You just told her daughter
I
is
just
basically
told her
on
daughter.
drugs.
I told her daughter was like messed up. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but you're gonna want to figure it out. I know you just lost someone very dear to you, you know, but your daughter is now in turmoil. So then I get a phone call from the other girl that I just talked to again, right?
The wrong girl.
Yes. And she was like, hey, are you talking about this person? And I looked at my phone and I compared the numbers. 2 different girls. Okay? Same name, 2 different girls. And I had called the mother of the one who had actually lost him. So then imagine that phone call, right? At this point, I'm in the fruits, I'm in the produce.
Yeah.
You know, like I've made my way there. And I'm like, now I have to call the mother back of this woman who actually, and I said, you know, thank God she was just so relieved it wasn't her daughter.
Yeah.
That she didn't even like hold it against
she just
me.
had a nervous breakdown
She
because,
did.
yeah.
And I wanted to say to her, listen, if you would like to take me out back and just like beat the absolute crap out of me, I will go.
Okay.
Like, tell me where to meet you right now, and I will let you just go at it.
Oh my gosh, that has got to be the best.
It's those moments where you're like, I'm quitting today.
Yeah,
you know, like I'm not called to
it.
this. There's no way I'm called to this because I'm horrible. So yeah, that was one of many moments that has happened like that.
But those are what makes up a ministry. Like, you know, that's how you have fun with it. I'm trying to make it sound better. I'm
so
doing
terrible.
my best.
It's so horrible. Maybe I shouldn't have even shared it. But
No,
honestly, that is like the worst thing that has happened. That is like
I find it hard to believe that there's anybody that can come close to that story.
It's bad. It's
like,
bad.
That is hilarious.
It's those moments where like your whole world kind of starts to like crash in a little bit, and you realized
stomach is flipping and
have messed up in a big way. Celeste, you have messed up in a explosive way.
But it was honest.
Not like you.
Like, it was like you were trying to help.
Oh,
it wasn't.
Gosh, I was the one who needed help after that. Like, I'm pretty sure I went and checked in somewhere after that. I was like, listen.
That is great.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays, probably then too, social media, you can, you know, check on people and kind of.
It's nice.
So that I'm trying to make a segue here.
Go back and make sure her mom is okay. It told you it was bad. It was really bad.
But it's awesome. It's good now. You're still friends with the family.
Yeah,
and
everything.
They didn't like hate you or cut you out of their lives.
As far as I know, I mean,
they've never said one way or the other.
I haven't spoken to them since, but I'm pretty sure we're
not a good sign. But anyways, moving on.
Gosh.
But no, we want to talk about just comparison culture. That is kind of why we sat down today, and me and you, we come from different generations, and you lead definitely a different generation than what I'm, used to being around. And I look at social media nowadays and how it is, and as an adult, as a 40-something-year-old, I had to learn about social media. Like, it wasn't something that was around, and with it comes its challenges. I have close friends that have struggled with it, where they've gotten in trouble because they thought they could get away with stuff, or where they see what other people have, and makes them depression sets in. I'm not good enough, and all that. So as an adult, we have our own challenges with social media and the side effects. And I'm a big proponent of social media. I think it has its qualities. It definitely has its negatives, but like anything else, it's a tool. It's
Right.
something we use to connect with people, and it's neither bad nor good. It's inanimate. It doesn't try to destroy families. It is what it is. But with the younger culture, it's completely different. It's viewed completely different because it's all they've known. It's been around. And like we were talking before, I was a nerdy little kid in school. Like, I was not the cool kid by any means.
Well, you're the cool kid now,
Hey,
so that's
you know
all that
what?
matters. Those cool kids then, they're losers now.
Yeah. But no, seriously, like I wasn't the kid that got picked on, but I wasn't the popular kid. I was just kind of like middle of the road and stuff. But I just remember, like, the kids around you that you compared yourself with.
Yeah.
The athletes, the kids that were good at playing instruments, whatever it was. And you look at them and you're like, you know what? I'm never going to be that. I'm not that. And, so nowadays, like, that was a community. I went to a small school too. So that was like a handful of people. We had 50 people in our graduating class. So it was just, like I said, a handful. And that was a struggle.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, and this is what you deal with on a regular basis. This is your ministry. This is life for you and your husband.
Right.
These kids are living life in front of the whole world. I mean, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, like, they're putting themselves out there for anybody to see.
Right.
And then they're also looking at pretty much like whatever they're into, they can find somebody that's doing it better than they are.
Right.
And so I just want to talk about like the impacts of that you see in this generation. Basically what I want to do is introduce us to, pastors, people like me that, we're not in that younger culture. We don't necessarily see everything that's going on or even understand it and stuff, and kind of like open up our eyes to what the generation's dealing with and stuff. So,
well, I think it should first be noted that everyone is different. And when I talk about what I'm about to talk about, I'm in no way, shape, or form minimizing anyone who does deal with this on a serious, every single day struggle and battle and just feels captive to it. Because I think that, depression and anxiety are real things.
Yes.
And they are things that people deal with medically. And but I do think that there are different causes for it, and I don't think it's a coincidence that at the same time that we have the highest numbers of depression and anxiety that we've ever had as a generation, that we also have in our back pocket something that we can scroll through and compare ourselves and post and be shamed and and so I don't think that's a coincidence at all.
No.
And I think one thing that I see a lot of the time is social anxiety, because you have young people, and not just young people. I mean, I think the older people struggle with this as well.
Oh, I know people in their 40s that are dealing with this.
Right. Yeah. Like, the grandma who's like really upset that someone didn't accept their friend request. And then she's like, hates them and doesn't even know that they deleted their Facebook. No, they go through it too. But I think that young people, they perform on social media often.
They live their lives on it.
Right. They live their lives on it. And I think, and again, this is not everyone, but you perform on social media. So you put out there the way that you want the world to see you, right? The things that you want the world to think about you, the way you want people to see you, the angles you want people to see you at. That's what you put out.
You can delete what doesn't look good.
You can delete what doesn't look good. Like, you put out what you want other people to see. And oftentimes people can put out disingenuine versions of themselves onto social media. So then when they get around people, it's like, okay, now I have to perform what I just was putting out there. It's almost like a blind date.
That is so good, Celeste.
It's almost like a blind date where you're talking to someone and like you're sending them pictures of someone that's not you. And then you go to the date and they're like, what is this? You know what I mean? And so I think that it puts people into this mindset of, okay, now I have to perform. And as soon as they get around people, they immediately don't feel good enough. They immediately feel insufficient. They immediately feel like...
Well, because they can't live up to what they're not.
They can't live up to what they're not. They immediately just feel like I can't be around people because I am not good enough. And that stems from the mindset of putting everything out there in front of people, presenting it the way that you want people to see you, and not being that in person. And so we talk about social anxiety. Yes, it is, an issue. And I think that there are people who probably struggle with that. Well, I know there are people who struggle with that who don't even have a social media. However, it has gravely impacted this generation. Like, there is a direct correlation. You cannot tell me different.
You can see, no, I agree with you. Yeah, you can see it everywhere. And it makes me sad because, I don't want to say they don't have a choice, but it's so in front of them. Like,
right.
if they want to live life with other people their age and, in that culture, they got to be a part of that culture.
Right.
Like,
and they don't connect the dots.
Yeah.
They don't realize, okay, maybe the reason why I'm feeling so depressed today is because my picture didn't get as many likes as I wanted it to, so I took it down. Like, they don't connect that to feeling depression. They just think like, I have mental health issues, and they're not connecting everything because it is such a part of their world.
Yeah.
Like, that is what they live in. They wake up to their Instagram and their TikTok. They go to bed to it. Like, that is their whole world. And so they don't often connect the dots that it affects their mental health. It affects their soul. It affects their spiritual well-being. They're not connecting these dots.
So how do you think, I don't want to just point out a gender here, because guys deal with the same thing that girls do, just on a different level. So if a guy or girl is going through this, like, how can they notice that this is having a bad impact on them? Like, what kind of things have you seen working in ministry that they can look at their lives and be like, okay, this isn't healthy.
Yeah.
This isn't, I need to change how I handle this.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that people are addicted to their phones. And so, I mean, this is an extreme case, but it does release dopamine. They say that when your phone lights up, it releases the same exact hormone, or not hormone, what is it? Dopamine in your brain that that gambling does.
Really?
So when your phone lights up, it's in your mind, you're thinking, is it going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
Am I going to win or am I going to lose? So you get a text, you
and
get a
I feel
notification.
That too when,
Yeah. And so you pick up your phone and it releases that same the same dopamine that gambling does, because it's such a gamble of your emotions. And so you have, young people who are constantly living up and down.
Yeah.
And I think, it's difficult.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Yes. It's a mental exhaustion. And I think it's difficult for young people to genuinely, I think they want help. They want to better themselves. They want to be better mentally. But when it comes down to, okay, what are you willing to give up?
Yeah.
Then it's a different story. And I do believe it's like this, it's like addiction. It's a different situation, but you have addicts who want to get help, right? Yeah. But when it comes down to
actually
giving up
go.
the thing that they feel like makes them better, they feel like makes them, more whole, more themselves, more whatever it is, it's like, then you really can tell who wants genuine help. And that's the first thing I ask a young person when they tell me that they're struggling with their mental health. The first thing I ask them is, how much time are you spending on Instagram?
Pull up screen time on
literally
iPhone,
how much time are you spending on TikTok? How much time are you investing into things that are taking life from you and not giving life to you?
Yeah. Because
I would be in that same boat,
and it's the same as drugs, or, it's the same process. Like, that's a good comparison, because if you're not willing to give it up, then chances are you got a problem with it.
It's like my husband will ask, if he has a teenage boy that comes to him and tells him that he's struggling with pornography, Brent will ask, well, where are you viewing it? Well, my phone, right? So he'll say, are you willing to go to a flip phone? Well, it's like, are you willing to
Why would you ask that?
Like,
no.
What are you willing to give for your freedom?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a catch-22 when it comes to
we
that.
don't, I personally didn't have those same, battles, and a lot of people that are watching us, the options weren't there.
Yeah.
To do that. And just for the record, I don't understand TikTok.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yes.
Thank you. I know that was difficult. Thank you for admitting that.
I stayed up all night last night thinking how I was going to put that out there. But no, what you were talking, seriously, when TikTok first came out, I didn't understand it. I still don't.
Yeah.
because it's just people on there doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And like there was no real value
Sure.
to it in the way I was looking at it.
Yeah.
And stuff. But then I started looking at it from the perspective of it's a competition. Like they're all doing the same thing.
Right.
My biggest issue was there was no creativity to it.
Sure.
It was just people getting
Trends.
on there mimicking what other people were doing, and that just blew my mind. Like if you're gonna get on there, do something nobody else is doing.
Right.
Or do it different. Like do something, but you're just copying.
Right.
But then I realized that it was them just trying to, it was a competition. Can I do it better? Can I get more people to notice me doing it versus somebody else doing it? And so that answered all my questions about TikTok's useless.
I used to think that TikTok, the only thing that it was, because this is what it was for a long time, was just people doing stupid dances to things. And I'm like, why would I want to see that? Why would I want to see some kid doing a dance to, beyond, like, it was just ridiculous to me. But then it feeds you what you're most interested in. So it feeds you the videos that you watch
the longest,
the videos that you like. So it feeds into your interest. I mean, the phone really, it knows us well.
It's creepy.
It knows us too well.
Yes.
So you have what's called a For You page, which is your feed, right?
Okay.
So mine is essentially all dogs. And I like, people need to check on me. That is what my For You page is. If you ever are just kind of wondering where you're at mentally, go to a social media platform that knows you well and see. It's like,
see what it brings
all
up.
dogs. It's also all people falling, and I'm like,
so you are that person when somebody falls,
joy
you lose it
out of people's pain. Like, how messed up is that?
I do too, but like that's kind of bad.
It somehow makes me laugh harder when they're like, ow, ow, ow. I'm like, it kills me.
We should do a
terrible
reaction video just of people falling.
Yeah.
That would be good.
That's awful. Now that's out there.
Yeah. Now everybody knows that. Next time she's preaching or up in front of people, just hold up a video of somebody falling.
Yes.
But you do spend a lot of time with teenagers, and you see these struggles. You see what they're going and how it impacts their families. I can only imagine as parents or even other youth pastors and pastors in churches that are dealing with teenagers going through this. It's hard for us to understand. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like everything that the youth of today does I think is cool, or I understand why it's cool, or I understand why they even do it. Like I said, TikTok, I don't get it. I have my issues with it, and to me they're legitimate issues. But to teenagers that are really into it, like, it's legitimate reasons they like what they like.
Right.
And so you can't just dismiss it and stuff, but it's hard to help somebody that is going through something you can't understand. And it's not because, like, we don't want to help them. It's not because we think they're stupid. It's just, how do you, like, if I don't understand why you're dealing with what you're dealing with, how can I help you? And so to parents or pastors that are in that, like, what kind of advice can you give with, because you deal with this on a regular basis, you're with young adults, with youth that really struggle with some of the stuff in comparison, not even with social media, just in general, comparing yourselves to other kids in the youth group, kids at your school and stuff, with parents that can't understand. Yeah. It's not that they don't want to, they can't. Yeah. What do you recommend to them?
Well, let me first just say, give me a youth leader who has a heart for young people, who believes in them and who prays for them genuinely, over the most relevant, can understand everything on their level, dresses the coolest. Like, give me that first youth leader over anyone else. Yeah. And I think there's a misconception that you have to understand and be the most relevant. Being relevant is important. Right. Don't get me wrong.
Without a doubt.
But I think that there's a misconception that you have to look a certain way, you have to dress a certain way if you're going to impact people. And
you have to have the big brim hat on and
yes,
tight jeans.
Yeah. And I think man, like that's just, you got people like that running around everywhere in ministry who do not genuinely have a burden for what they're doing, who do not genuinely have a burden for people. They look the part and they might even be able to preach great and sing great, but they do not genuinely have a burden for the next generation. They don't have a heart for souls. And so for me, I'm like, dude, give me the old lady who smells like a bottle of perfume from, 1930.
But praise for them every night.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
They really care.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to kind of lead with that.
No, it's good.
You don't have to look a certain way as long as you have the right heart. It's in the right place. And, the truth is we're never going to fully understand what someone else is walking through, right?
Yes.
I mean, even if you have the same situation of, you lost a parent, I lost a parent, it's comforting to be able to kind of level with someone, but you're never going to fully understand because I didn't live that person's life. They didn't live my life.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different factors. And so, it might sound discouraging, but you'll never fully understand, what that is, because I don't fully understand it. But what I do fully understand is that there is a broken generation that needs a savior. And no matter what they're facing, no matter if it's Instagram, TikTok, no matter what it looks like, the message is still the same, that Jesus can save, heal, redeem, and set free. Like that is the foundation of the gospel.
Yeah.
And so,
Preach.
I don't understand freaking some of the things that they do. Like there's this new, I can't even get into it. It's not even worth, it's not even worth talking about. It's not worth talking about. But I don't understand all of that. But what I do understand is that there's a broken generation that needs a real savior. And
they need to see the love of Jesus.
Right. And that's encouraging to me because I'm like, I look at a generation who is literally willing to try anything. I mean, they are doing the craziest stuff out there. They're literally willing to try anything, and I have the answer.
Right.
Like, I have the thing that's going to save their soul.
Like, this is probably the most easiest reached generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, out of any, all our generations had their own issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, might not have been social media, but we had our own problems. But this generation seems like they're seeking answers, attention, affection more than any other.
Yeah. And influence is leadership.
Yeah.
When you have influence in someone's life, you're a leader in their life. And so I was even talking to a friend the other day. I said, how can I, and this is going to sound shallow and I don't really care because that's not my heart. God knows that's not my heart.
Right.
But I'm like, how can I do things on social media that will get more interaction with people, like the question box and
because
things like
you got a good message they need to hear.
Right. And so if I can get influence, which is step one, right? Like no one's going to listen to someone who they're not influenced by.
Right.
Then I can also express the message of Jesus to them, which is the most important thing. So I really don't care, just for the record, for anyone listening, like I don't care what I look like on social, I don't care what I'm doing.
Right.
I don't care,
but there's purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not for you. It's for the message.
Yeah.
It's no different than a, preacher having a snazzy, I said snazzy. Did you like that? Or having like this crazy
You're gonna watch Wheel of Fortune tonight at 6:30 and be in bed by 7. That is your future.
I do find as I'm getting older that my bedtime's getting earlier.
I bet it is.
I used to stay up to like midnight, 1 o'clock, still get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock. Now it's like 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I'm so ready for bed.
Yeah.
But I won't because I feel old if I do.
Yeah, it's time to watch American Idol and crawl into bed.
I love American Idol.
I know you do.
That is sad.
Oh, man.
But no, while we're talking about comparison culture, let's get into it a little bit. I want to talk about the church and its impact on comparison culture. Mm-hmm. And this literally just fired me up while you were talking. I did not plan on talking about this.
Well, come on, Jesus.
Even plan on it. It never crossed my mind until you were speaking just now. But holy crap, comparison culture and pastors.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Stephen Furtick.
Yeah, you love him a little too much.
I do. I know. No. I like the guy.
Yeah.
Met him a couple times one week, and incredible. How good you can get to know somebody in 30 seconds.
Sure.
I mean, really nice, really polite. But when he hit the stage and people start noticing, how many pastors did you start seeing that wore low-cut V-neck shirts and tight jeans and chains up on stage?
Yeah.
Worship. Everybody tries to be Bethel or Elevation or
no. If there were a lineup in here, I would be able to tell you exactly who the worship leader is, who the youth pastor is. Like, give me a lineup right now. Yeah.
But the impact that comparison culture, that community, that wanting to be like somebody else, and T.D. Jakes, that man, I just heard him speak the other day, and he is phenomenal. But he said one thing that just made sense.
Yeah.
He said, why would you copy the original when the original is so much better?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to be the fake copy of somebody else? Now, I'm not saying don't dress cool. Like, if you like that look and that's your style and that's who you are, be that person.
Right.
Like, but be you. Mm-hmm. Just like with a worship team. Like, don't mimic. Like, yes, you can sing their songs, but be who you are.
Yeah.
And I go all the way down the line. I mean, our kids are watching that. Sometimes I just feel like church gets trendy.
Sure.
And we chase, and I'm not pinpointing any one church at all, or youth group. But we start chasing the trend instead of chasing Jesus.
Yeah.
And I feel like out of everybody, the church is the worst offender of it in general, just trying to be like other people. And like, I don't know where I was going with that. It just, I just got a little worked up over it, that thought.
Sure.
And stuff. So in the youth group, like, how do we avoid that? How do we, because we want to be cool, we want to be trendy, but that can't take a place of, chasing after God and the old fashioned stuff.
Absolutely.
The getting on your knees and praying, the, seeking after God, the not worshiping because the song's cool, but worshiping because you're truly in love with Jesus. Like, how do we balance that out?
Yeah. Well, I think it's tough because no leader is perfect. It's very difficult to find a leader who has all the bells and whistles and is like, okay, yes, you are young, you're relevant, you do this, people respect you in the community. It's, you're not going to find a perfect leader. But what I would encourage just even pastors and leadership to do is to make sure that the departments that you oversee, that their heart is in it, that they're not going through the motions of ministry, that they're not falling in love with the ministry and abandoning falling in love with Jesus. I think that's where you have those issues of, okay, now I love the work of the ministry and I'm all about the work of the ministry, but I'm not about the work of Jesus. Yes. And so I think that is where that line becomes very thin of making sure that Jesus is the number one thing in your life.
People would be shocked how many pastors that don't have a relationship with Jesus. And it's not because they're bad people by any means. It's, they get caught up in the work of ministry. Yeah. And at some point they just lose the time to spend with Jesus because they're busy trying to do the work. Yeah. And stuff. So I can see that and, not even notice. I've done that. I've been in that boat where, I realize, crap.
Well, yeah, I
haven't prayed in a week.
Yeah, I've prepared 2 messages that are great, but that was when I last read my Bible, when I was prepping for that message, and that's not okay.
No, not at all.
That's not keeping Jesus the number one priority in your life. Yeah.
So we got to start wrapping up here, and I feel like we could go on and on about this
all the way until it's time for you to get home and watch Wheel of Fortune. I'm telling you, we could do it.
Really? You had to go there. So that we're not going to air this episode.
This is going nowhere. I get it.
No. Seriously, I looked forward to sitting down and talking with you.
Oh, me too. I was so pumped.
And I thought this would be fun. We're definitely going to do it again. I'm going to have to get another mic so we can get Brent and do the whole power couple.
That'll be something.
That would be fun. But, we've talked about a lot today. We've talked about comparison. We've talked about, trendy. It always goes back to that, it seems like. Really, it does.
Why am I we are so against these worship leaders in these hats right now? I know that's not true. That's not it.
Not true at all.
We We are ready to just throw darts right now.
No,
No.
Yeah, I got a little worked up. I'm
No,
sorry.
I
And it had nothing to do with the people that dress that way or do
No,
that.
I'm totally with you. Sorry, guys. I was joking.
Yeah.
Tim has a great heart. He loves everybody.
No.
I suck. Like, what else can I say?
No, it is. I do want to clarify that like I love those pastors. I love those worship and stuff. But it's like anything else, we take everything too far at some point. And yeah.
I don't take anything too far.
You are perfection.
I stay right on the line.
Brent tells me that all the time that
sure
you
he
are, there's absolutely nothing that you do wrong.
I don't speak out of turn. No.
That's like my wife. My wife is perfection. She's, she don't do anything wrong, and I don't either.
Man. Way to fill people's ears with lies right now.
Right. But as closing and wrapping this up, if you'll close in prayer, I just want to focus on, praying for, that girl that is 13 years old, 14 years old, and she just doesn't feel good enough.
Sure.
Or that young man that he just don't feel like he lives up to the standards that are put on him and the pressure around him. And, he's just struggling. They're just struggling, and they don't exactly know why. They don't know how to fix it, but and just pray and encourage them today. And
absolutely. And before I pray, I know we got to close, but I just want to say, like, to people who are struggling with that, to people who are struggling with comparison every single day, nothing will satisfy your soul like Jesus. I mean, the Bible says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So the only way to live a transformed life is to renew your mind every single day.
Yeah.
To know that you have nothing to prove and nobody to impress. I mean, that's what keeps you true to who you are, and know that being a son, being a daughter of Jesus is good enough. That nothing in this world will ever make you good enough. Nothing.
Isn't it awesome how boils down to it's all about Jesus.
It's all about Jesus.
It's all about Jesus.
Yeah. So just making Jesus the foundation, the priority of your life, renewing your mind, and not getting distracted and pulled away, because you'll always struggle with that. If you don't have Jesus, the center of your heart, the foundation of your soul. I mean, the Bible says, abide in me and I'll abide in you. Making sure that Jesus is what your identity is, not in being a pastor, a leader, a wife, a father, whatever that is, but that your identity is in Jesus, and that will help. That will make your soul complete. That is what true contentment is.
That's good.
So, all right, is it time to pray?
It's time to pray.
All right. Jesus, I thank you for every single person who is listening today. God, I just pray right now that you would just fill them with your love, with your perfect love, God, wherever they are, if they're in their car, if they're at home, if they're home with the kids, if they're at work, God, I just pray wherever they are right now that they would be filled with your unconditional love, God, that they would know exactly where they belong, and that's with you. And God, I just pray for every person who might be struggling with comparison. God, I pray that the truth of your word would be replaced in their hearts with the lies of the enemy. And God, I just pray right now that every person who's listening would have peace no matter what their situation is, no matter what they're walking through. God, I thank you that our circumstance does not have to be perfect to have perfect peace. And God, I just lift up every single person to you, and I pray that they would not miss an opportunity today to share your love with someone, that they wouldn't pass by an opportunity to show someone who the real Jesus is, who you really are. We love you so much. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, thanks for watching today. The Only Jesus Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, pretty much anywhere. And check out To Be Honest Podcast. It is definitely worth your time. And that is on all the major podcasts.
Apple, Spotify. Yep.
Awesome. But thanks for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you for
being
having
a guest.
me. How fun was this?
I hope you will do this again.
Absolutely.
This was awesome. I like you calling me out on things, and I will go home and watch American Idol. Wheel of Fortune.
Your night's cut out for you.
No. We're done. Have a blessed day.